She's just a baby. She won't remember if we're there. That's what my parents said about my daughter's funeral. They were at a pool party, 12 miles away. At Lily's funeral, 4 people showed up. Just 4. The entire row meant for my family sat empty. My daughter, Lily Mae Sinclair, was 6 weeks old when she died from SYDS, sudden infant death syndrome. And I couldn't save her. 2 years ago, I was the one calling my mother in tears. And last week, she called me, crying. It was the first time in my entire life I had ever heard her break like that. Now my mother needs me. And my answer to her was only 4 words. My name is Jade Sinclair. I'm 30 years old. I work as a crisis counselor in Seattle, Washington. Before we begin, feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell me where you're watching from and what time it is there. I'm always curious how far these stories travel. Now let me take you back. Because this didn't start with one cruel decision. It was a pattern. One that repeated itself over and over again until there was nothing left to ignore. November 15th, 2023. Late at night, I was sitting inside my soundproof office at the Seattle Crisis Response Center. Headphones on, notebook open. It was my 63rd call that week. The woman on the line had lost her son to SIDS 8 months earlier. She couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't remember what it felt like to be okay. At one point, her voice cracked, and she said something that stayed with me. No one understands unless they've lived it. I gave her the words I had learned to give, the script I had refined over 6 years of doing this work. You're going to survive this. I know it doesn't feel possible right now, but you will. She believed me, and in that moment, I believed it too. I ended the call just after 1 in the morning, 1 hour and 18 minutes. I logged everything carefully. Outcome, caller safe, follow-up scheduled. What I didn't know then was that months later, I would be dialing that same number, not as a counselor, as someone who needed saving. Daniel. I met Daniel Mercer in January 2023 at Elliott Bay Book Company. He was a high school teacher, 32. Quiet in a steady, grounded way that made you feel safe just standing next to him. We dated for 8 months. Then in September, I found out I was pregnant. It wasn't planned. He proposed when I was 32 weeks along. We were sitting in my apartment and he looked at me like I was the only thing in the world that mattered. I want this, he said softly. I want us. We got married at the King County Courthouse on Valentine's Day 2024. Small ceremony. 2:15 in the afternoon. Total cost, $420. I invited my parents. They came. They stayed for 25 minutes. Then they left because my mother, Evelyn Sinclair, had a charity luncheon she didn't want to miss. As they were walking out, my father, Christopher Sinclair, pulled me aside. His voice was low, sharp. Brandon never put us through something like this. I forced a small laugh and let it go. I didn't understand then that it wasn't just a comment. It was a warning. Lily. April 18th, 2024. My water broke just before dawn. Daniel drove me to Swedish Medical Center. Labor lasted 11 hours. At 3:51 in the afternoon, Lily was born, 6 pounds, 3 ounces. She let out the softest cry, and I broke down completely. I called my parents right away. My mother picked up on the 4th ring. Hi, sweetie. Mom, I just had the baby. Lily's here. There was a pause. Then her voice came back, light, distracted. Oh, congratulations. We'll come by tomorrow. Your father and I have to be at Brandon's contract closing today. It's a big one, $3.1 million. Something tightened in my chest. Mom, I just gave birth to your first granddaughter. Another pause. Then she corrected me. Ethan Jr. is our first grandchild, Jade. This is our second. He was named after Brandon. I held the phone for a few seconds longer. Then I hung up. The next day, I received a text. Congratulations again. Can you send photos? We're tied up with Brandon's celebration dinner. I looked down at Lily sleeping beside me in the hospital bassinet. I took a picture. It would become one of only 4 photos I would ever have of her. The first 6 weeks passed quietly. I took unpaid leave. The center didn't offer maternity pay. Daniel kept teaching. We lived off our savings, $12,000. Lily was healthy, perfect even. At her 6-week checkup, Dr. Melissa Carter smiled warmly. "She's doing beautifully." That night, I uploaded a photo of Lily to a private album online. My mother reacted with a heart, no comment. My brother didn't respond at all. My father never even opened it. I told myself they just needed time. That once Lily started smiling, laughing, calling them Grandma and Grandpa, something would shift. Something would click. I was wrong. May 31st. I laid Lily down in her crib a little after 10:15 that night. She was sleeping peacefully. I leaned over and kissed her forehead. "See you in the morning, baby." I didn't know those would be the last words I would ever say to her. The next morning felt off. I woke up later than usual. The apartment was too quiet. Lily normally cried around 5:30. But that morning, there was nothing. No sound. I walked to her crib. She was lying on her back, arms stretched out, exactly how I had left her. But her lips had a faint blue tint. I reached down and touched her skin. Cold. My mind refused to accept it. I picked her up, holding her close. "Baby, wake up. Mommy's here." Nothing. I had guided 180 people through grief. I knew the stages: denial, anger, bargaining. But when it's your child in your arms, still, silent, none of that knowledge means anything. I called 911. The operator, Karen Douglas, answered. My training took over. I didn't scream. "My daughter isn't breathing, 6 weeks old, no pulse, I need paramedics." She guided me through CPR, 30 compressions, 2 breaths. Her body was so small. I could only use 2 fingers. 4 minutes passed. Then 6. The paramedics arrived at 6:34 a.m. 8 minutes. A man named Mark Reynolds stepped inside. He looked down at Lily, then at me, and before he said anything, I already knew. I saw it in his eyes. Swedish Medical Center. I sat in the ER waiting room, my hands still trembling, unable to make them stop. Daniel arrived a little after 8. I had called him from the ambulance. We didn't hug, we didn't speak. We just sat there, side by side, staring into nothing. At 7:51 a.m., Dr. Andrew Collins walked out. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "We did everything we could." I asked if I could hold her. He nodded. They gave me 30 minutes in a private room. I sat with Lily in my arms, her weight so small it didn't feel real. And I did the only thing I knew how to do. I sang to her. The same song I had sung every night. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." My voice broke when I reached the next line. "You make me happy when skies are gray." When I finally stepped out of that room, Daniel wasn't there anymore. Through the glass doors, I could see him outside in the parking lot, standing with his phone pressed to his ear. He wasn't crying. He was just talking. That was when the silence began. We went home. The apartment still carried the scent of her, baby lotion, formula, something soft and familiar that now felt unbearable. Daniel moved through the space like he didn't belong in it anymore. He pulled out a duffel bag and started packing. "Where are you going?" I asked. "I can't be here right now. Our daughter just died." He stopped for a second, his eyes red but distant. "I know," he said. "That's why I can't stay." He left in the early afternoon, one bag, his wedding ring sitting on the kitchen counter. And just like that, I was alone. I sat in that apartment, surrounded by everything that still held her presence, and for the first time in 6 years of doing this work, I thought about calling the hotline, not to help, to be helped, but I didn't. I just stared at my phone. I hadn't called my parents yet. I wasn't ready to hear their voices, but I knew I would have to. There was a funeral to plan, and I couldn't do it alone. June 2nd. I called my mother. I told her what happened. "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry." Her voice didn't change. It was flat, almost routine, like she was responding to a minor inconvenience. "I need help planning the funeral," I said. "Of course, sweetheart. When are you thinking?" "Saturday, June 9th, 2 in the afternoon." Silence. 5 seconds. Then she said it. "Jade, that's the same day as Ethan Jr.'s birthday party." "I know," I said carefully, "but I can't wait. The medical examiner needs—" She cut me off. "Can't you do it Sunday?" Something tightened in my chest. "Mom, this is my daughter's funeral." Her tone shifted. Colder now, sharper. "Brandon spent $22,000 on this event, Jade. It's been planned for months. Can't the funeral home just hold Lily until next week?" Hold Lily. Like she was a package. Like she wasn't my child. I closed my eyes for a second. Breathed in, breathed out. Training. Don't react. Don't escalate. Gather information. I reached over and pressed record. That evening, I sent a message in the family group chat. 4 people. My father, Christopher. My mother, Evelyn. My brother, Brandon. And me. "Lily's funeral will be June 9th at 2 p.m. at Evergreen Washelli. I hope you can be there." 8 minutes later, Brandon replied, "Jade, you know that's Ethan's party. We already have 85 guests confirmed. Can you move it to Sunday?" My father reacted with a thumbs up. My mother followed with a message. "Honey, we want to be there, but this is a big milestone for Ethan. He's expecting us." I stared at the screen. Then another message came through. "Jade, I'm sorry, but your baby, she won't know if we're there." I read that line once, then again, then a third time. I didn't respond. I just took a screenshot. I don't know why. Instinct, maybe. The next day, I went to the funeral home alone. Evergreen Washelli. The director, Richard Hale, asked gently, "Will anyone else be joining you for the arrangements?" "No," I said. "Just me." He showed me the options. I chose a small white casket, $1,400. Flowers, service details, burial plot. Total, $6,400. He asked for half up front. I paid everything. He looked at me for a moment. "You don't have to do this alone." "Yes," I said quietly. "I do." My hand trembled as I signed the paperwork. He handed me a tissue. I felt nothing. I just stared at the number on the page. $6,400. I thought about Brandon's wedding. $110,000. Mine. $4,200. And Lily. Nothing from them. Not a dollar. Not a presents. Not even a flower. On June 5th, Daniel texted, "I can't come to the funeral. I'm sorry. I'm staying with my brother in Portland. I need space." I called him. Voicemail. I left one message. "Lily was your daughter too." He never called back. 2 days later, I received an email from his lawyer. Divorce petition. Irreconcilable differences. We had been married for 3 months and 18 days. I sat in front of my laptop. No tears, no reaction. I just opened a blank document and started writing. Meanwhile, my mother was posting. Between June 4th and June 8th, 6 separate updates about Ethan's party, decorations, a custom tropical cake, performers, everything curated, everything perfect. One caption read, "Can't wait to celebrate our special boy." I saw every post. I didn't react. I just took screenshots, saved them, labeled them. On June 6th, she posted again. "Countdown to Ethan's epic pool party. Grandma and Grandpa can't wait. Nothing beats celebrating life with the ones who matter most." 47 likes, dozens of comments, all congratulating her. I opened her profile. There was nothing. No mention of Lily, no acknowledgement, no grief. It was as if my daughter had never existed. On June 7th, Brandon called. Rare. He usually avoided calls. "Look," he said. "I feel bad about Lily." "I do. But we spent $22,000 on this event. It's been planned since March. Ethan's been looking forward to it for months. You can't expect us to cancel. I'm not asking you to cancel, I said. I'm asking you to show up. For 1 hour. Jade, be reasonable. It's the same time. I can't be in two places. You're choosing a pool party over a funeral. There was a pause. Then he said it. I'm choosing my living son over. He stopped. I'm sorry. That came out wrong. The line went dead. He hung up. I played the recording again later that night. I had started using a call recording app after that first conversation with my mother. Something in me had already known I would need proof. Brandon's voice came through clearly. Jade, your baby was 6 weeks old. She barely existed. Ethan is 8. He has memories. He has feelings. I'm not missing his day for something that won't change anything. Barely existed. 6 weeks. 42 days. 1,008 hours. Lily existed in every single one of them. The final call. June 8th that evening. I called my mother one last time. I wasn't begging anymore. I just needed to understand. Mom, I only need you there for 1 hour, from 2 to 3, then you can go to the party. She exhaled, already tired of the conversation. Jade, honey, you don't understand. We're the host's parents. We can't just show up late. People will talk. I felt something tighten, but I kept my voice steady. You're more worried about people talking about you being late to a pool party than missing your granddaughter's funeral? Her tone sharpened instantly. Don't try to guilt-trip me. You're being selfish. And then she said it, the sentence that never left me. Jade, it's just a baby. She wouldn't even remember if we were there. But Ethan will remember if his grandparents miss his birthday. Your brother's milestone matters more. That's just reality. My hands were shaking, but my voice stayed calm. Okay, Mom, I understand. Enjoy the party. I ended the call. She didn't know I had recorded it. In the background, I heard my father's voice, distant, dismissive. Tell her we'll send flowers. The flowers that never came. The morning of the funeral. I woke up early. The first thing I did was check my phone. No messages, no emails, no delivery confirmation, nothing. I called the funeral home. Richard confirmed it gently. No additional flower orders under the Sinclair name. Okay, I said. Thank you. I hung up, opened my notes app, and typed, promised flowers, not sent. June 9th, 6:03 a.m. I got dressed, black dress, simple. I stood in front of the mirror, and for the first time since Lily died, I didn't feel anything, just cold, controlled, clear, crisis counselor mode. I would get through the day, and after that, I would make sure they never forgot it. Evergreen Washelli Chapel. 20 chairs arranged in 2 rows, 10 on the left, 10 on the right. I knew exactly which side belonged to my family. I arrived early. Sophie Bennett was already there. She pulled me into a tight hug. A few minutes later, Rachel Moore walked in. She had driven 3 hours just to be there. Then Dr. Melissa Carter arrived, right before the service began. At exactly 2 o'clock, Richard Hale stepped forward. Would you like to wait a few more minutes? I looked at the empty row to my left. 10 untouched chairs. No, I said quietly. Let's begin. He nodded with a kind of quiet understanding. I've done this for over 20 years, he said. The number of people in the room doesn't measure the amount of love. The ones who are here, that's what matters. I sat down. The chair beside me, Daniel's, empty. The entire row behind me, my family, empty. I looked at the small white casket at the front of the room. Lily was inside, wearing the dress I had bought that morning. Alone. The service began. Richard read softly, words I didn't hear. I was somewhere else, thinking about her hands, her breathing. 42 days. 42 days of life. And the song. You are my sunshine. The words stayed in my throat. I couldn't get them out. Sophie squeezed my hand. And somewhere, 12 miles away, in a house in Medina, My brother was cutting into a 3-tier cake. $750. Ethan blew out the candles. 85 people clapped. My parents stood beside him, smiling. At 2:17 p.m., my mother posted a video. Our special boy. Richard's voice pulled me back. Would you like to say a few words? I stood slowly, walked to the casket, placed my hand gently on the white surface. I'm here, baby, I whispered. Mommy's here. Behind me, Sophie began to cry. I didn't. I just sang, softly, barely above a whisper. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. The burial. They lowered her into the ground with straps, inch by inch. 6 feet down. I watched the entire way. There was nothing left. There was nothing left to cry. Doctor. Carter stood beside me, steadying me with one hand on my arm. Rachel dropped a white rose. Sophie followed. Then it was my turn. I stepped forward, and I placed her ultrasound photo into the ground. 20 weeks. The first time I saw her. Goodbye, sunshine. At that exact same moment, 2:47 p.m., my mother posted again. Her 12th photo of the day, standing beside a pool, champagne glass in hand, sunglasses on, smiling. Caption: Nothing beats celebrating life with the ones who matter. Hashtag blessed grandma, hashtag family. Timestamp, 2:47 p.m. I took out my phone. I don't know why. Maybe some part of me still believed they would change their minds. I opened the app, saw the post, checked the time, 2:47. The exact minute I was lowering my daughter into the ground, my mother was raising a glass. I took a screenshot. I saved it, created a folder, and named it Evidence. Later that afternoon, everyone left. Sophie, Rachel, Dr. Carter. By 4 o'clock, I was alone. I stayed, sitting beside her grave for 2 more hours, not speaking, not moving, just there. The sun began to dip lower in the sky. A groundskeeper approached. Luis Ramirez. Ma'am, we're closing soon. You all right? I nodded slowly. I just need a few more minutes. He gave a small, understanding nod. Take your time. He walked away. I looked down at the temporary marker. Lily Mae Sinclair, forever loved. I stood there for a moment longer, then turned. I didn't look back, because I knew if I did, I wouldn't be able to leave. The drive home took about 20 minutes, 20 quiet, empty minutes. I reached my apartment just after 5. The moment I stepped inside, I pulled out my phone. 3 missed calls, all from unknown numbers. 1 voicemail. I pressed play. My mother's voice came through, light, almost cheerful. Hi, honey. I hope the service went okay. We're exhausted from the party. Call us when you get a chance. Love you. I listened to it once, then again. Then I deleted it. I didn't call her back. 3 days later, I returned to work. My supervisor, Angela Brooks, looked at me carefully. Are you sure you're ready? I need to work, I said. I need to feel useful. She nodded, like she understood. At 9:15 that night, I took my first call. A woman named Deborah, 52. She had just lost her husband to a heart attack. Her voice was shaking. No one understands. Everyone tells me to move on, but I can't. I slipped back into the role I knew so well. You don't have to move on, I said gently. You just have to move forward, one day at a time. There was a pause. Then she asked, Have you ever lost someone? I hesitated. Yeah, I said quietly. Recently. Then you know, she whispered. You know it doesn't get better. I closed my eyes for a second. It doesn't get easier, I said. But you get stronger. And the people who truly love you, they won't ask you to move on. They'll sit with you in it. If someone tells you to get over it, they're not your people. We talked for over an hour. When the call ended, Angela stepped into the room. That was beautiful, she said softly. But, are you okay? I smiled. I'm fine. I wasn't. But saying it out loud was easier than explaining the truth. The divorce papers came a few days later. Early morning. A knock on the door. I signed for the envelope without asking questions. Inside was a petition. Daniel wanted a clean dissolution. No contest, no custody, no alimony, just a clean break. The reason listed: irreconcilable differences arising from mutual grief. Mutual. As if he had been there. As if he had stood beside me at the grave. As if he had stayed. I signed the papers without hesitation, placed them into a manila folder, labeled it Daniel, closed. Then I slid it into my file cabinet, right next to another folder. That one I labeled Family, Pending, 19 days, from June 9th to June 28th. 19 days where no one in my family reached out, except one voicemail from my mother. June 15th. Hi, sweetie. Just checking in. Hope you're doing better. We've been so busy with Brandon's new project. Call me when you can. Light, casual. No mention of Lily, no apology. I didn't respond. Instead, I documented it. Yes, I made a spreadsheet. Family contact log, June 9th through June 28th. Total contact, 1 voicemail. 0 meaningful communication. Meanwhile, my mother kept posting more photos, more captions, more reminders of what mattered to her. On June 22nd, pool day with our favorite grandson. Summer is for making memories. Hashtag grandma life, hashtag blessed. And then on June 28th, a text from Brandon. Hey, mom's birthday is July 10th. Dinner at our place, 6 p.m. You coming? No. How are you? No. I'm sorry. No acknowledgement of anything that had happened. Just an invitation. Like nothing had changed. Like nothing had mattered. That was when I started writing again. Every night. A journal. A method I had taught dozens of clients. From June 9th to June 30th, I wrote 21 entries. Each one began the same way. Day Tets, without Lily. On June 30th, I wrote, Day 29 without Lily. Day 19 without my family acknowledging she existed. Day 12 since Daniel's papers. I counseled 31 people this month. I tell them they're not alone. But I come home to an empty crib, an empty bed, an empty inbox. I'm the fraud. I'm the one who's alone. I closed the journal, looked up, and for the first time, I really saw myself. I asked a question I had never allowed myself to ask before. What if I disappeared? Would anyone notice? That night, I almost called the hotline. Not as a counselor, as a caller. The number was already on my screen. My finger hovered over the call button. 1 second, 3, 8. I didn't press it. Instead, I set the phone down and opened my laptop. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but I knew one thing. If I didn't do something, I would disappear. I created a folder, named it Evidence. Then I started organizing everything I had saved, some of it intentionally, some of it instinctively, voice recordings. I transferred them to my laptop, backed them up to the cloud, copied them to an external drive, screenshots of posts. I renamed every file with timestamps, the family group chat, exported as a PDF, the funeral invoice, scanned, the attendance log, scanned. 4 hours later, I had 83 files. Organized, chronological, clear, nearly 300 megabytes, stored in 3 separate locations. I opened the folder labeled Voice Recordings. 3 files. I clicked the third one. mom_final_call.m4a. I pressed play. Her voice filled the room. It's just a baby. She wouldn't even remember us being there. I listened once, then again, then one more time. I didn't cry. I just opened a note beside the file and typed, mirror line, use in climax. Over the next few days, I built something else, a document, 12 pages. I titled it, The 42 Days of Lily Mae Sinclair, A Chronological Account, April 18th, birth. Hospital. Absence. April 19th to May 31st. 6 weeks of life. Checkups. Indifference. May 30th. SIDS. 911 call. Death certificate. June 2nd to 8th. Funeral planning. Refusal. Receipts. June 9th. Funeral. 4 attendees versus 85 guests at a party. 47 social posts. June 10th to 30th. Silence. Divorce. Isolation. There was no emotion in it. No adjectives. No pleading. Just facts. Dates, times, numbers, and exact quotes. Backed by audio. Undeniable. I formatted everything like a case report. That's how I was trained. Clear, structured, detached. One section read, June 8th, 2024, 8:15 p.m. Final call to mother. Request. Attend funeral for 1 hour before going to the pool party. Response recorded. It's just a baby. She wouldn't even remember us being there. Your brother's milestone matters more. Funeral attendance, June 9th, 0 family members. Pool party attendance, June 9th, both parents, brother, sister-in-law, nephew. 47 posts documented between 2 and 4:52 p.m. I saved the file as timeline_Lily_Sinclair.pdf 3,891 words. I read it twice. For the first time since May 30th, I didn't feel powerless. I felt clear. I knew what I would do next. I would write. On July 6th, I started. Not a journal, not a vent, a guide. When your family isn't there, navigating grief alone. Chapter 1. The Myth of Unconditional Family Love. I wrote about attachment theory, family dynamics, conditional love. 18 pages. Over the next 4 days, I wrote 4 more chapters. Then on July 11th, I stopped. It felt wrong, too clinical, too distant. It needed truth. So I deleted everything and started again. This time, the opening line changed. My name is Jade Sinclair. I'm a crisis counselor. I've helped 180 people through the worst moments of their lives, but I couldn't get my own family to attend my daughter's funeral. I wrote for 6 hours straight. When I stopped, the sun was coming up. 31 pages. I read them. And for the first time since Lily died, I cried. Not from pain, but because I finally had a voice. On July 15th, just before midnight, I finished the manuscript. 87 pages. 31,240 words. I needed a title. When your family isn't there felt too safe. I wanted something raw, personal, honest. I wrote 10 options, crossed out 9, and chose She Wouldn't Remember, a crisis counselor's journey through grief, abandonment, and finding my voice. When my family chose silence, I stared at it for a long moment. I knew it would hurt them. I also knew it would heal me. I didn't send it to my family. I didn't need their approval. I needed a publisher. Sophie's sister, Victoria Lane, was a literary agent in New York. I emailed her at 12:03 a.m., July 16th. Subject: Manuscript submission. When a crisis counselor becomes the crisis, attach the file. Sent it. July 10th. My mother's birthday dinner. I almost didn't go, but I did. I needed to face them, their house in Medina. My mother opened the door. Oh, honey, we've missed you. The smile didn't reach her eyes. Inside, everything was perfect. Catering, presentation, around $1,000 worth of food. Everyone was there. My parents, Brandon, his wife Natalie, Ethan, and 2 relatives. The conversation started light. Work, weather, baseball. At 6:35 p.m., my mother spoke. Jade, we need to talk about your attitude. I looked up. My attitude? My father leaned forward. You've been distant. You didn't even acknowledge your mother's posts. My mother added, We understand you're grieving, but it's been over a month. You need to move forward. This sadness is affecting everyone. I looked around the table, 8 people, all watching me like I was the problem. Brandon joined in. We're worried about you. You're isolating. You're not responding. You sent me one message in 30 days, I said, to invite me here. That's exactly what we mean, he replied. You're keeping score. My father sighed. We think you should see someone. This level of grief isn't healthy. I laughed, short, cold. I am someone, I said. I'm a crisis counselor. I know what grief looks like, and I know what abandonment looks like. My mother's voice rose. Abandonment? We didn't abandon you. You chose a pool party over your granddaughter's funeral. Silence. 8 seconds. Natalie looked down. My father tried to recover. That's not fair. We had commitments. Brandon spent $22,000 on that party. We couldn't just... And I spent $6,400 to bury my daughter alone, I said. Where's my commitment refund? My mother started to speak. You're being dramatic. It was just... She stopped. I leaned forward. Just what, Mom? My voice steady. Just a baby? Her face went pale. She didn't know I had the recording. Brandon stood. That's enough. You need to leave. You're ruining Mom's birthday. I stood too. No anger, no tears. I already left, I said. 5 weeks ago, at the cemetery, alone. I walked to the door. My mother followed. Jade Sinclair, you are embarrassing this family. You need help. I stopped, turned back, looked at all of them. You're right, I said. I do need help. I needed help understanding how a family can choose a pool party over a funeral. I paused. But I figured it out. You can't value what you never saw as human. I walked out, closed the door. 6:47 p.m. I sat in my car for 10 minutes, then went inside, checked my phone. One new email, from Victoria Lane. Subject, manuscript submission. I opened it. Jade, I read your manuscript in one sitting. I cried 3 times. This is powerful. I want to represent you. Call me. July 12th. I called her. Your story matters, she said. Grief, family, truth. I have publishers in mind. It's going to hurt my family. Is that why you wrote it? No, I said. I wrote it because 180 people called me for help and no one helped me. I wrote it so the next person who buries their child alone knows they're not crazy. Then that's your answer, she said. I'll send it out Monday. I agreed, hung up, looked at the file. 31,240 words. I thought about Lily. 4 people at her funeral. 47 posts. Then I sent it. Done. July 20th. Victoria called. 2 publishers, offers, one at $90,000, one at $120,000. Who can publish faster? Simon & Schuster, 4 months. Then go with them. November 3rd, 2024. She Wouldn't Remember was released. No launch event. No announcement. Just one photo. Posted on my professional account. 340 followers, mostly colleagues. The photo was simple. The book cover. Caption, for Lily, and for everyone who grieves alone. Within 6 hours, it had been shared 1,200 times. Comments started pouring in. I needed this. This is my story too. Thank you for your courage. By the end of the first week, 12,400 copies had sold. Victoria called me, her voice bright with excitement. You're on track for the bestseller list. On November 5th, I received an email from the Seattle Times. We'd like to interview you about your book and your work as a crisis counselor. Are you available? I stared at the message for a long time, because I knew what it meant. When this went public, my family would see it. I replied anyway. Yes, I'm available. November 8th. A book talk creator, at Pages with Rachel, 850,000 followers, posted a video. She was holding my book, crying. This book broke me. It's about a crisis counselor whose family skipped her baby's funeral for a pool party. I just can't. The video exploded. 2.3 million views in 3 days, 18,000 comments, over 40,000 shares. Sales surged. Week 2, 38,000 copies. On November 12th, She Wouldn't Remember landed on the New York Times bestseller list. Number 7, nonfiction. Victoria called. "You did it." The next day, I received a message on Instagram from Natalie, Brandon's wife. "Jade, I read your book. I'm so sorry. I tried to convince him to go. I want you to know I saw you. I should have said something. I read it more than once. I didn't know what I felt. Part of me was grateful. Part of me was angry she hadn't spoken up when it mattered. I didn't reply. Not yet." December 1st, 2024. I launched the Lily May Foundation, a nonprofit to support parents who had lost infants, especially SIDS cases, funeral assistance, grief counseling, community support. I used $50,000 from my advance to start it. The first family we helped was a woman named Maria, 28, single mother. She had lost her son at 3 months old. She couldn't afford the funeral. We covered everything, $4,200, and gave her a $10,000 scholarship so she could go back to nursing school. At the launch, I stood at the podium, about 30 people in the room, press, supporters, counselors. I said, "Lily lived for 42 days, and in those 42 days, she showed me what unconditional love looks like. This foundation is my promise to her. Every child deserves to be remembered with dignity, and every parent deserves support, not silence." I looked out at the audience, Sophie, Rachel, Dr. Carter, and in the back, Daniel. He didn't come forward. He just nodded. I nodded back. No words, just acknowledgement. That chapter was over. On December 5th, the feature article was published. Headline: Local Crisis Counselor Turns Personal Loss into Advocacy. It included excerpts from the book, and for the first time, a photo of Lily. One quote stood out. "My family told me my daughter wouldn't remember if they came to her funeral, but I'll make sure the world remembers her, not because of how she died, but because of how they chose to respond." The article spread quickly, nearly 9,000 shares in one day, and it included a detail that changed everything. My father's business, Sinclair Auto Group. People connected the dots. They started searching, and then they started leaving reviews. "Owner skipped his granddaughter's funeral for a pool party. Would you trust someone like that?" 1 star. "Read her book first, then decide where your money goes." 1 star. "Family business? More like a family that abandons their own." 1 star. Within 5 days, 340 new reviews, almost all 1 star. Their rating dropped from 4.8 to 2.1. On December 8th, my father called. "What did you do?" I told the truth. "You're destroying our business." "I didn't destroy anything," I said. "I shared my story. People made their own decisions." 2 days later, his business partner pulled out. A $1.5 million deal. Gone. My father forwarded me the email. One line above it. "Are you happy now?" I didn't respond. Brandon's life started unraveling too. He worked at a tech company, mid-sized, values-focused. HR called him in. "We've received concerns. Your name appears in the book. Can you confirm the details?" He admitted it was true. A few days later, leadership stepped in. "This situation conflicts with our company values. We need a public statement." He refused. Then internal messages leaked. Employees asking, "Should we be working with someone who skipped a baby's funeral?" Dozens of people joined the conversation. On December 13th, Brandon texted me. "We need to talk. This has gone too far." I read it and set my phone down. Sophie asked me later, "Are you going to answer him?" I shook my head. "There's nothing to say. He made his choice." And now, he was living with it. By December 6th, my mother's social media had collapsed. Strangers found her posts, the ones from that day, the pool party, the comments flooded in. "You posted this during your granddaughter's funeral. Disgusting." You celebrated while your daughter buried her child alone. All 47 posts were bombarded with comments. She tried to delete them. They came back. Screenshots were already everywhere. She switched the posts to private. Too late. On December 10th at 3:17 a.m., she deleted her entire Facebook account. My father called me. Your mother is devastated. She can't even go to her book club. People are talking. People talked about me too, I said. When I buried my daughter alone. Where were you then? He didn't answer. On December 11th, I got a voicemail from my mother. The first time she had reached out directly since the dinner in July. Her voice was shaking. Jade, I don't know what you want from me. I can't go outside without people staring. Please, can we talk? I listened to it twice. Saved it. But I didn't call her back, not yet. On December 14th, Natalie asked to meet. A coffee shop. Neutral ground. Elm Coffee Roasters. She looked nervous when she walked in. I read your book, she said. I'm so sorry, Jade. I told Brandon we should go to the funeral first. I tried, but he said his parents would be upset if we didn't stay for Ethan. Then why didn't you come alone? I asked. She hesitated. I was afraid. Of him. Of them. I know that's not an excuse. She started crying. I didn't hug her. I just nodded. I'm stepping away from family events, she said. I told Brandon, until he apologizes to you, I'm out. Then she looked at me. Do you think you'll ever forgive us? I took a long breath. I don't know, I said. But I appreciate you being here. That's more than the others have done. She nodded. Then she left. I stayed there for a few more minutes, thinking. One person had chosen accountability. The other three were still choosing pride. A few days later, my father texted. Your mother wants to see you. Family lunch, December 22nd. Please come. We need to talk. I didn't respond. On December 21st, my mother called again. I answered. Jade, please, she said. Let's sit down and talk like adults. This has gotten out of hand. What has? I asked. My grief? Or your consequences? People are attacking us, she said. Your father's business is suffering. Brandon could lose his job. This isn't what you wanted, is it? What I wanted, I said slowly, was my family at my daughter's funeral. What I got was 47 posts. Silence. Then, softer. Jade, please, let's move past this. For the family. I took a breath. You told me Lily wouldn't remember if you were there. Pause. You were right. Another pause. But the world will remember you weren't. 8 seconds of silence. And unlike Lily, I added quietly, the world doesn't forget. That's cruel, she whispered. No, I said. Cruel was choosing a pool party. This is just memory. She hesitated. Will you come to lunch? And then I said it. No, I said. I won't come back. And I hung up. I didn't block her, but I didn't answer the next call either. I had said everything I needed to say. Christmas came. December 25th, 2024. My first without Lily. I didn't go to my family's house, but I didn't stay home crying either. I volunteered at the Seattle Grief Support Center. I led a group session from 10 to noon. 8 people, all carrying their own loss. One man, David, 41, had lost his wife to cancer. I read your book, he said. It helped me realize I'm not weak for struggling. You're not weak, I told him. You're human. Afterward, I went to Sophie's house for dinner, sat at a table filled with people who chose to be there. For the first time, I spent a holiday with a family I chose. When I got home that night, I checked my phone. One message, from Daniel. Merry Christmas, Jade. I'm sorry for everything. I hope you're okay. I read it. I didn't reply. But I didn't delete it either. I just let it be. A part of my past had spoken, but it didn't define me anymore. January 10th, 2025. She Wouldn't Remember reached #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. Victoria called, almost shouting, "You did it! #1!" I didn't celebrate. I just whispered, "Lily, we did it." By that point, the book had sold 127,000 copies. The foundation was growing. 12 families supported. $63,000 distributed. 3 scholarships funded. Partnerships with 8 hospitals for free grief counseling. I hired a part-time coordinator, Angela, the same woman I had spoken to on my first night back at work. "You saved me that night," she said. "Now I get to help you save others." "This is full circle," I told her. On January 15th, I received a letter, handwritten, postmarked Seattle, no return address. I opened it. 2 pages, from my father. It began, "Jade, I don't know if you'll read this," it began, "but I need to say it. I was wrong. I chose the wrong things. I convinced myself Brandon's success mattered more because it was visible. Your grief, I couldn't see it. I'm sorry. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know, I see it now. I see what we did to you. Your mother is struggling. She won't say it, but she cries at night. She knows. We both do. I'm proud of your book. I'm proud of the foundation, and I'm ashamed I wasn't there for Lily. Or for you. I love you. I always have. I just showed it badly. Dad. I read it 3 times. I didn't cry. I folded the letter and placed it in a drawer. I didn't respond. Not then. Maybe not ever. But I kept it. That night, I opened my journal. Entry 287. Dad wrote. He apologized. It doesn't undo anything, but it matters. I don't know if I'll ever forgive them. I don't even know what forgiveness looks like here. But I know this. I don't need their validation anymore. I have Lily's memory. I have my work. I have my voice. That's enough. February 9th, 2025. 8 months since Lily died. The permanent headstone was ready. I went to the cemetery that morning. Sophie came with me. The stone was simple. White marble. Clean. Quiet. It read, Lily Mae Sinclair, April 18th to May 30th, 2024. You are my sunshine. Forever loved, forever remembered. I placed yellow roses on the ground, the same color as the little ducks on her onesie. I sat there for a while. Didn't cry, just talked to her. I kept my promise, baby. The world knows you now. They won't forget. My life had changed. In January, I was promoted to Director of Crisis Services. More responsibility, a higher salary, a different kind of weight. I moved into a new apartment. 1 bedroom, natural light, plants. No crib, nothing that would pull me back into that moment. I started dating again, slowly. I met Adrian Lopez, an architect, through a friend. Coffee, conversations, no pressure, just steady. My family stayed distant. I acknowledged my father's letter, but I didn't reply. My mother hadn't reached out again. Brandon was silent. Natalie texted occasionally. Polite, careful. I had a book tour scheduled, February through March. 8 cities, talking about grief, about family, about what it means when the people who are supposed to stand beside you don't. I stood at Lily's grave one last time before leaving, looked at the headstone, and for the first time, I felt peace. Not because everything had been fixed, but because I no longer needed it to be. Lily was gone. But her story was still here, in the book, in the foundation, in the thousands of people who had read her name. That was enough. 6 months later, August 2025, 14 months since Lily died. I was at the foundation office, meeting with our 18th family. A young couple. They had lost twins, stillborn at 36 weeks. I listened, didn't interrupt, didn't rush, just stayed present. When we finished, Sarah hugged me. Thank you, no one else understood. I do, I said. And you're not alone. That night, I went home. Adrian had made dinner. We ate, talked. It felt normal. peaceful. My phone buzzed. A message from Victoria. Book just passed 200,000 copies. Also, Netflix is asking about film rights. Interested? I smiled, typed back. Let's talk. Before bed, I opened my journal. Another entry. Day 434 without Lily, but not without purpose. Her story is helping people. The foundation is growing. I'm okay. Not healed, but okay. And that's more than I thought possible. I closed the laptop, looked at the photo on my nightstand. The only one I had. Her ultrasound. 20 weeks. Good night, sunshine, I whispered. I turned off the light. My family once said Lily was just a baby, that she wouldn't remember if they were there. They were right about one thing. Lily doesn't remember. But I do. The world does. And every family I help does. They wanted me to forget. Instead, I made sure no one ever could. As of February 2026, the Lily May Foundation has supported 24 families, and that number will keep growing. Because this was never just about me. It was never just about what my family did or didn't do. It was about every parent who stood in a room that felt too quiet, every person who went through loss and was told to move on, every voice that was dismissed because their pain wasn't convenient. I used to believe family meant unconditional, that blood meant permanence, that no matter what happened, they would show up. I was wrong. But I also learned something more important. Love isn't proven by words, it's proven by presence, by who stays when it's uncomfortable, by who shows up when there's nothing to gain, by who chooses you, even when it's inconvenient. My family didn't choose me that day, so I chose myself. And in doing that, I found something I never expected, a different kind of family. People who weren't bound to me by blood, but by empathy, by understanding, by choice. People who stayed, people who listened, people who didn't look away. Lily only lived for 42 days, but in those 42 days, she gave my life a direction I never could have found on my own. She gave me purpose. She gave me a voice. And through that voice, she's still here, in every parent who feels less alone, in every message that says, I thought I was the only one, in every story that finds the courage to be told. So no, she wouldn't remember. But I will. And because I will, the world will too. And if there's one thing I want you to take with you from my story, it's this. Do not measure your worth by who failed to show up for you. Pain has a way of making you question everything, your value, your voice, your place in the world. But someone else's absence is not proof that you are unworthy. It's proof that they were unable or unwilling to meet you where you needed them. You are allowed to grieve in your own way. You are allowed to set boundaries, even with people who share your blood. And you are allowed to walk away from anyone who treats your pain like an inconvenience. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means carrying what happened without letting it define your future. Find the people who stay, the ones who listen without rushing you, the ones who sit beside you in the silence. And if you haven't found them yet, start by being that person for yourself. Because the moment you choose yourself, everything begins to change. And if this story stayed with you, if even a small part of it felt familiar, take a moment to let me know you're here. Like this video, not for me, but for every voice that's still learning how to be heard. Share it with someone who might need to feel less alone tonight. And if you feel comfortable, leave a comment. Tell me where you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. I read more of them than you think. And if you want more stories like this, real, raw, and honest, consider subscribing to the channel. Because sometimes the stories we tell don't just entertain, they remind us we survived. And that matters more than anything. I'll see you in the next one.